Right, year 11. We are at the point of writing the first paragraph of our Jekyll and Hyde essay, okay? The key words of the question need to be embedded into this. We know this from the question is starting with this extract, how does Stevenson present Hyde as an abnormal character? We've organised, as you'd seen in an earlier video, hopefully, the 4 points we want and the 4 quotations that we need. We are planned and ready. We know that at the average of 10 minutes per paragraph, okay, we can write 4 paragraphs and possibly a conclusion if we get the opportunity in the time to make this a successful answer. We also know that the way to write those 4 paragraphs is using CALSC. But a reminder that it's not simply you dive into character, allegory, language, structure and context. You need a good topic sentence for your CALSC paragraph that impresses the examiner and shows that you are being relevant to the question, okay? And then you need to embed that quotation rather than just putting this is shown in the quote, which is one of those kind of lower level answer stems that makes an examiner expect a less impressive answer, okay? If you start in this way, then the CALSC can flow naturally out of that, and they'll hopefully demonstrate that with a 10 minutes on the timer, okay? So if we go at this point, our first point is using the quotation, something troglodytic, the idea of Hyde as the caveman. So my opening sentence, I know that I want to use firstly, later on I'll use furthermore or however or moreover to illustrate my different points, but I know I want to get the author's name in there. The author's created this. Stevenson's name needs to appear several times in your answer, preferably in each paragraph, because it shows that the book doesn't happen by itself, okay? So Stevenson presents Hyde, I'm using the keywords of the question, it's all very unoriginal at the moment, as being abnormal. This is the point where now you have the opportunity to develop that, okay? Because you need to demonstrate with a clever point, all right? And our point is that he's this evolutionary throwback. He feels like something that's going in reverse rather than civilization becoming more successful and civilized, okay? He's thrown that into reverse. Normal in the way that he appears to be, I'm going to put a fancy phrase, evolutionary regression, okay? I now need to prove that with the quotation. But we need to think about when did this happen. This is early on. This is using the extract, of course. And the extract has already told us, chapter 2, Utterson meets Hyde for the first time, okay? So I can use that to my advantage. I can use what it's telling me about the extract. So when Utterson meets Hyde for the first time, and I can show off a bit of extra information because I know that it's outside Jekyll's doorway, the blistered door. So I'm going to throw in a bit of extra knowledge wherever I can. Okay, so outside the blistered door, because remember the door is symbolic of like the blistered soul and the neglected personality of Jekyll, who owns the house and owns the door, the back entrance to his house. Outside the blistered door, okay. He later wonders if there is, and this is where we embed the quotation, if there was something troglodytic about the, and I don't want to keep using Hyde, okay? We always talk about noun phrases and varying them, so about the sinister gentleman. He is a gentleman, because he dresses like one, and he seems to have lots of money because he's able to pay £100 for blackmail to a family of a little girl. But he's undoubtedly also a sinister gentleman. So I'm showing off that there's a bit more variety to what I do. It's not just Hyde, Hyde, Hyde all the time, okay? I might even be tempted to change one of these at a later point, okay, if we get the opportunity. Okay, we're now ready to use CALSC. We need to say something about Hyde and about what this shows. And bearing in mind that you might write a sentence that actually contains elements of character, but also with other things. So something troglodytic. So we need to show that we understand this. Instantly, he is being compared to, I'll keep the timer on, compared to, got to show what a troglodyte is, okay, to I'm going to put Neanderthal cave dweller. I'm not entirely sure whether it's that exact period, but it's the fact that it's somebody from the ancient past in our civilization, from a much less civilized time, cave dweller, choosing to live in darkness, and appearing suspicious and uncivilized. That's showing a confident grasp of character. It's detailed, and it's emphasizing that I've learned something from that quotation. Appearing suspicious and uncivilized. Okay, so where's the big idea? Okay, it's almost like the allegory of this is the idea that Stevenson's produced it. Stevenson emphasizes I was going to put animalistic side, because of the idea that, like, sort of we can justify that, the animalistic side of Hyde's nature through the selection. It's better to put, rather than just putting the adjective troglodytic suggests, you could, if you actually, that Stevenson has selected or Stevenson has chosen through the choice or through the selection of the adjective troglodytic. And of course, this nicely sets you up for a link to the theories of Charles Darwin. Which reminds us that our ancient ancestors possessed very different values or attitudes to, and I'm going to put civilized in, if I can spell it, to civilized Victorian society. I'm putting civilized in inverted commas because the whole point of Victorian society was that under the public facade there was so much in private that was controversial. Okay, so we now know we dealt to some extent with allegory. Okay, we certainly dealt with language, we dealt with character. Bring in, at this point, let's address the context. We've also said when it happened. We haven't said why, but in terms of the context, we now had the opportunity to bring in the theories of Charles Darwin. This is the moment where things can go badly wrong, and particularly when people link it to ape-like fury, because it's easy to think, I've mentioned Charles Darwin, that makes me sound clever because this is something I learnt, but it doesn't unless you make it clear that you know something about Charles Darwin and that you can also make it relevant to this particular question, okay? You've got to think of it as you're explaining to somebody who knows nothing about Darwin, so therefore, okay, this was also relevant to I mentioned Victorian fears caused by Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Okay, gone a bit further, we said what it actually was. Could even be really fancy and say, published in 1859. This is if you've got the time, and already I'm looking at the clock that I've created here and sort of, published in 1859. I know there's 25 years have elapsed since this book, and I'm showing that and demonstrating that theory of evolution, which challenged biblical creation myths. Creation myths about the world. Adam and Eve, so the first humans, and the truth of our complicated and maybe unsophisticated ancestry, because that's the point. Hyde is very natural, very unsophisticated. It's brute force, but that's the reality of people going around, cave dwellers, sort of hitting people over the head with sort of big sticks and stealing whatever food they had. Complicated, unsophisticated ancestors. Okay? And I want to show off here, I've already done it with the blistered door, if you can throw in, when you get the opportunity, if you can't do this, you focus just entirely on that one quote, but why not demonstrate to the examiner that you can also make a confident link to another quotation. We said in the previous video, if you use troglodytic, you can't have ape-like fury in a different paragraph because it's the same thing, okay? But you could say, which is further which is further. I could have put emphasised. This is where we're always sort of choosing your words and thinking, well, I've already used that word, I want to choose something else, which is further reinforced. I will go for when we later read about Hyde being ape-like when he murders Carew. And actually, the adjective ape-like appears 3 times in the book. There's ape-like fury. So when he murders Sir Danvers Carew, in the fit of an angry outburst. Now, this is me writing this spontaneously. I'm now thinking, actually, it foreshadowed it. So I'm thinking, which is, so you could argue in terms of the structure, okay, the reference to Hyde's troglodytic personality, appearance and personality, in fact, I wanted to put therefore in, so I'm going to put it there. There's my timer gone, so that's my 10 minutes up, and that's going to get really annoying unless I cancel that. Yeah, okay, shush, thank you. Therefore, the reference to Hyde's troglodytic appearance and personality foreshadow his later outbreaks of evolutionary regression. I started the paragraph with that, okay? I was very proud of that phrase, so why not use it twice to emphasise just how clever I thought it was at the time? This isn't trying to be boastful, this is about you trying to use these kind of phrases like the embodiment of societal fears, okay? The reference to Hyde's troglodytic appearance, personality foreshadows later outbreaks of evolutionary regression, and again, I'll just throw in ape-like and ape-like resemblance that Victorians were so horrified, I'll input respectable Victorians, not just any old Victorians. Victorians were big on respectability. Respectable Victorians were so horrified by. Okay, in completing that, it's a bit of a cheat, I know, because we've gone over 10 minutes, but I've been talking through the process and that's meant slowing down at different times, okay? Looks a very detailed paragraph, and I don't doubt, my hand's feeling a bit sort of sore after those 10 minutes, so I don't doubt that you did 4 of that length, okay? You would have a very detailed essay, but it may be difficult to sustain that all the way through. But already we have the evidence that all the aspects of CALSC have been contained in this, and hopefully will enable the confident start of a successful answer. The examiner is already feeling the person knows what they're doing, and they're looking forward to them making 3 separate relevant points about the character being abnormal.